Welcome back, everyone, to the brand new box office breakdown show here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnenberg. Today, we're breaking down the domestic box office of this past weekend, which was March the 21st to the 23rd, 2025. We're also going to break down the worldwide and domestic overall numbers for the year 2025 and give you a preview of both my videos coming out this week, as well as the new movies that are hitting theaters. So welcome back, everyone, to a brand new video. If you're new, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. I do movie and TV show reviews, out-of-theater reactions, box office breakdown shows, and movie rankings. If you like any one of those things, please subscribe, ring the bell. Comment down below. What did you see in theaters this past weekend? Are you going to see anything in this upcoming theaters? And what are your big factors on what happened to Disney's Snow White? Also, guys, please hit the thumbs up button. Also, in the description below, you can follow me on Letterboxd, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all of those things. And at least 2 or 3 times a week, I post grid blind ranking videos on Instagram and TikTok. It's been getting a lot of good traction. If you want to follow me on both Instagram and TikTok, it is in the description down below. So without further ado, let's get into this past weekend's box office, which I said was the March 21st to 23rd, 2025, just domestic. And Snow White did open up in first place from Disney, but only to $42.2 million. And this movie has been seen as a disaster from the get-go, because years ago, when they were promoting the movie 3 years ago at D23. So this is back in 2022 when the movie got announced with Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. They had a lot of interviews that did not go very well from a publicity perspective, and people have been wanting to see this movie fail for, again, 3 years. You just never see that with a movie that has this much blowback before the movie even starts filming. Then it started filming, and it was kind of controversy after controversy. Now it's like, do Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot even get along? This has been a catastrophe for Disney. The movie opened at 42.2. The projection was $50 million, which already was going to be a low number for Disney, but I think at this point they would kill for a 5 in front of their number than a 4 at this point. And for a movie that has a shocking $270 million budget. Now, this movie has been in production for a very long time. It had issues with the multiple strikes, and there was a fire on the set that caused a lot of production budget to go up. But still, Disney, animation to Disney live action adaptations have done very well for Disney over the last decade. Films like Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Jungle Book, both recent Lion King films have all done very well, and even Little Mermaid all did very solid to great at the box office. So Snow White is this is going to be a very similar comparison to 2019's Dumbo, which both movies are adapting animated films nearly 100 years ago, and readapting it with a new vision. And obviously that one was Tim Burton. That really didn't have any controversy to it, but that movie just did not do great at the box office, nor did it do good critically or audience-wise. And this film is very similar. Now, I do want to get into all the issues that surround the movie. Again, I'm not here to get political at all with anyone's beliefs. I do think if you have a belief, you should absolutely stand up for what you believe in. And Zegler's been someone who's done that. She is pissed off at this point with her, off-screen stuff, just too much, in my opinion. And I just think they've really curated this whole media circuit for the two actresses, because they don't want to get hit by a lot of these different types of questions. Disney was very afraid one of them would say something stupid like they did 3 years ago. And as I said, if you're not familiar, Rachel Zegler was basically not just really crapping on the original film, but having her own political spin on it. And yeah, I think even if you align with her politically, I think actually a lot of people will do if they actually sit down and listen to what Zegler has to say. Her problem is the way she says things is just not great. And this opened very similar to the movie she starred in a couple years ago, which was the latest Hunger Games film. I just, at this point, I think she needs a lot of breathing room to be the next lead actress. Disney obviously hired her because she was supposed to be the next star. Again, if you're not familiar, she led the West Side Story remake of Steven Spielberg, which obviously had a great award season. But the movie flopped at the box office, which was shocking for a Spielberg movie, especially West Side Story. And it seemed like she was one of the shining lights off that movie. She got Shazam 2 off of that. She got the lead, basically the co-lead of the latest Hunger Games film. It felt like that she was going to become a major superstar, both with her singing ability and her acting ability. But things just have not been working out for her career. As I said, Hunger Games did not open as well as the previous films in the franchise. Shazam 2 was a huge failure, both critically and at the box office. And as I said, West Side Story also flopped at the box office. And Disney was hoping they risked it all early on before she really became a star in their eyes to sign her to do this movie. It just did not work. I think Zegler is someone who will still get plenty of work. Even that A24 movie that came out last year, really no one saw. At this point, for a big franchise, she just isn't a lead business-wise. Again, I'm seeing the movie this week, so I'll tell you my full review on it. I've always thought she's a very good actress, but I've just never been into her, liked her at all from a personality perspective and the way she goes about her business outside of film, just in her personal life. Not for me. And also Gal Gadot as well. She's someone who really outside of the first Wonder Woman film has really struggled making a major impact in Hollywood. She was a supporting role in the Fast and Furious movies. But really outside of that, she was in the third person in Red Notice. Just nothing really major. And also she's had some based on where she's from, a lot of also political thoughts over the last year. Then the whole thing coming out where basically Zegler and Goodell have never been next to each other promoting the movie whatsoever. So clearly they are not getting along. Out of all of the media they did one picture together on the red carpet. Outside of that, they did everything else separately, which is very odd. This movie just was a disaster. And also, as I said, Snow White is a movie that came out nearly like 80, 90 years ago. And for a lot of kids who are going to see this movie, they don't have that nostalgia for the original Snow White. Because again, unless you're that type of era fan of Disney, and I don't think people who are bad people or, too much in the niche, but again, Lion King, Jungle Book, these are all kind of like recent enough adaptations to do, or Aladdin or Little Mermaid, or recent enough, or even just Disney classics. When people think of Disney, they don't think Snow White is even the most memorable princess in their catalog, let alone movies. So this was a total disaster across the board. It's not well received critically. It's a B plus cinema score, which really isn't awful. But the word of mouth and with the stars just not being the most likable stars from a business perspective, not shockingly, a disaster for Snow White. Sorry, that was a long rant, but it is one of the biggest stories so far we have at the box office in 2025. In second place, in its second weekend, is Focus Features Black Bag, only dropping 44% in its second weekend. It made 4.2 million up to 14.7. Really good drop off for Black Bag, really good second weekend. But again, this movie did not open very big. It has a $50 million budget. Focus Features really wants this movie to dominate on streaming and PVOD to make its money on this movie. So we will see when it hits digital if it's a big hit. But at least in theaters, out of the mediocre movies, it's doing okay. Captain America, Jesus, Brave New World, excuse me, is in third place in its sixth weekend, dropping 29%, 4 million, 192 million, another Disney bomb. The film just crossed 400 million worldwide, but still, with its budget, it would basically need around 600 plus million just to break even. So this movie is going to be a big money loser for Disney, and that's why they've completely moved on from this movie. Again, Disney had the year of years last year, the lone $3 billion movies with Moana 2, Inside Out 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine. The only studio to get into the $1 billion club, and they had $3 billion movies. But so far this year, Captain America, Brave New World, Disney Snow White are disasters. Now, they do have a lot of probably bankable winners coming up with Lilo and Stitch, and especially the new Avatar movie in December. But just to get off to the year, awful start for Disney. Novocaine's in fourth place in its second weekend. It dropped 58%, 3.6 million, 15.5 million for Novocaine. Now, again, the movie's budget is only like $18 million, but this movie did not blow up as I think some people were expecting. Really, both Jack Quaid movies did not blow up as much as people we're expecting. But this movie, I think, will do very well on digital from Paramount. It'll do very well on Paramount Plus. It'll make up its money on the PVOD market. And wrapping up the top five is another disaster, this time from Warner Brothers, Mickey 17 in its third weekend, dropping 51%, 3.6 million, 40 million domestic for a movie with an $110 million budget. I can't remember a time where we had this many disasters. And honestly, to start a year, this has been one of the worst starts to a year I've ever had covering the box office. I've been covering the box office for nearly 5 years now. And I can't remember this much depressing talk, not talking about any major winners at the box office in the first 3 months of a year. Just rough start at the theatrical window. Domestic numbers go as this. Captain America is still the biggest movie of the year domestically with its 192. Dogman at 2, One of Them Days at 3. Disney's Snow White and its just opening weekend gets to number 4. Paddington in Peru at 5. Mickey 17 at 6. The Monkey 7. Den of Thieves 2. Pantera at 8. Hard Eyes 9. Flight Risk is 10. Worldwide numbers, 2 Chinese films are 1 and 2. Captain America Brave New World is the biggest U.S. film worldwide at number 3 with $400 million worldwide. But again, that movie is still a disaster. That's the biggest movie of the year with that budget. That's how you know we're off to such a rough start this year. Another new film from China is at number 4. Dogman's at 5. Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boys at 6. Mickey 17 at 7. Chinese films are 8 and 9. And Disney Snow White with its $87 million opening worldwide gets it to number 9 worldwide. So this is already, guys, a fast month of March. This is the last box office window for the month of March. And we're ending on a couple interesting movies that are hitting theaters this weekend. You have Blumhouse's Woman in the Yard. You have A Working Man from David Ayer and Jason Statham. And you also have A24's Death of a Unicorn. All 3 of those movies are hitting wide release this weekend to wrap up the month of March before we head into the first big movie of April, which is in its first weekend, which is Minecraft. So busy week here on the channel. Luckily, I got a chance to see Death of a Unicorn early for you guys last night. So last night, I posted my at a theater reaction. Today, you got my review of Death of a Unicorn and this video. Tomorrow, you'll get my spoiler review of the 2 new episodes of Daredevil Born Again. Sometime this week, you're going to get reviews of Snow White, of Woman in the Yard, and Working Man all in the next week or 2. So definitely stay tuned for all of those videos. And also back here on Monday with another box office breakdown show.